repeated. And the same play has been doomed to repeat it. And the same play has been being performed throughout the history of the world.
Of the world. So, who is the Grey Pope? The Grey Pope is allegedly Pepe Orsini from Rome. The Grey Pope is...
Joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare.
Bloodlines. Much speculation and theories of these bloodlines have been made, relating them to everything from the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned in the book of Genesis, including the lost 13th tribe, commonly held to be the Hazar tribe, to the 12 signs of the zodiac.
22.
Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What is
Washington, D.C. It's a city overflowing with... I was intrigued with Washington, D.C. It's a city overflowing with esoteric symbolism. Zooming in from space as we can in Google Earth.
Stop because all nation. Uncle, this is something when no man can stop because all nation. Uncle gather and all nation are gonna say yes, I'm right.
Yeah, this is the third eye talking. This is not the vessel, it's talking. Alright, that is the vessel. Watch. See when I die? This is from the spiritual side. Alright, don't miss it. Yes, family. So this one is about deep down inside of you. You see, when you talk, you have to talk from deep down inside of you, because you see a lot of family out there, they have a lot of problem, but it's deep down inside of them. A lot of them suicide themselves. Yeah, go kill themselves. You understand me? So family, sometimes you go on social media. Just look on social media and look into those people's face, yeah? And look if those people is happy. No, they're not happy, you know. But them, all when they don't have the money, them go up there and show up all of these pretty things, innit? Yeah, but they don't have the money. They can't afford it. Them can't afford even to pay the rent. You understand me? So family, learn to talk from deep down inside. Don't try to keep things down inside and kill off yourself. You understand me? That is what a lot of family doing. You understand me, family? And when we learn how to talk from deep down inside of us, family, we can express ourselves. You understand me? Not the system, but ourselves. When you look around, yeah, it's like you see everybody come like them program. Them just like, work home. Oh, bills this. Yeah. It's a massive family. Yeah, them just all program. But we are not a program, we are life. You understand me? And we need to understand ourselves and work together and build together. We are one family. Social media people, they will laugh. Like, I can laugh. Eh? You know what I mean? Like, but yet, you understand me? It's not happiness that. I can smile. It's not happiness that. I can pose like gangster. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or I can do lost soul sign, yeah? Once you see they do like this, they don't have no sense. You can use them and abuse them. You understand me? Yeah, so, family, hear me. Living the life in the earth, that don't mean say you're going to live for yourself. That means say you are one of the brainwash one them, you know what I mean? Because through thick and through thin, you're not supposed to think you're going to live in the world by yourself. You just waste the Most High life. You waste the universe life. You just waste the life of everyone relying on you to come together. You understand me? Don't waste your life. Don't waste God life. Don't waste Jesus life. Don't waste Moses life. Don't waste Allah life. Don't waste, you know what I mean? Just don't waste the universe life, family. We don't have to kill ourselves now. We just need to work together. You understand me? And next we will climb the ladder together. One for all for one, innit? Alright, remember to inbox me. I'm out. One world, one family, one circle. What?
One for all for one.
One world. One world.
One world. One world. One world.
One world.
One world.
One world. One world.
One world.
One world.
One world, me say, you know.
One world. One world. One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world.
One world. One world.
One world.
One world. One world.
The time is now. The time is now. People from Jamaica, people from everywhere there should deal with it. And then other people will know that it is true and deal with it too. Because what we are dealing with, you know, is something higher. I mean, it's not what we are dealing with. The reality of what's going to happen is something higher than man's own personal little vexation and pride self. This is something where no man can stop because all nations are going to gather and all nations are going to say yes, I'm right. And some plenty will die, you know. But there is the people who did it who want it and no sense for them one. A rascal thing.
Repeated. And the same play has been being performed throughout the history of the world by what we call the builders, the controllers, the puppet masters, whatever you want to call them. This is the age of deception. And everybody today is living in a fantasy world, and they're promoting agendas that they don't understand because somebody has told them that it's the right thing to do. I've learned a few things. What I'm going to try to do today is sort of give you some of what I've learned. And you can take it for whatever you think it's worth. I hope that you will take it out of here and use it to search for your own truth.
2/3 of the Freemasons don't go beyond the 3rd degree. Freemasonry and the Illuminati are like a glove in a hand.
Well, hold on just a second, Fritz. I mean, I know some Freemasons. I even work with one, and I mean, he seems to be the most down-to-earth guy I've ever known. And as a matter of fact, if I even get to talking to politics too much about him, I feel kind of sort of that I even know a little bit more what's going on than him. How is he controlling the world?
Oh, he's just a member of a lodge system. We're talking, the lodge system needs a lot of good men at the base to support its structure.
My mind rebels at stagnation.
They're building what they call the perfect race. They're perfecting humanity in order to control nature. They're building the utopian world that they perceive that we need. They have placed themselves in an elitist attitude to tell the rest of us what we need. And the truth is, we don't need them to do that. Okay? They haven't got the right to do that. They think they do, because they think we're just a bunch of stupid cattle. And I got to tell you, for the most part, most people prove them right all the time. Not intentionally, but because the knowledge, the truth has been withheld from the people. And that's how they manipulate people, is by withholding the truth and controlling them with the lies.
The things that controlled people back in ancient Rome, you know, where they had bread and circus, they're using the same formulas that they used in antiquity on us today. And bread and circus simply means that if you give the common person entertainment and plenty of food, like the junk food we get, they'll be happy. And most people, as long as they have their beer and their football game, are happy.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Stalin and Churchill and Roosevelt, who were the Allied leaders, they were all three Freemasons. These people, they say whatever it takes to be popular, and then they do whatever they want.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
In a letter dated 22 January 1870, Mazzini wrote to Pike. Now, Albert Pike is this high mason who wrote the manual, if you like, of Scottish Freemasonry. He said the following: with their systems, their central authorities, and diverse modes of correspondence between high grades of the same right, organized as they are at present, but we must create a super right, which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree, whom we shall select. With regard to our brothers in Masonry, these men must be pledged to this strictest secrecy. Through this supreme right, we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the one international center, the more powerful because its direction will be unknown. Now, Albert Pike wrote a letter to Mazzini, and that was dated August 15, 1871, in which he propagated that there should be a world order, a one order where all nations are under the control of one central organization. And in order to achieve this, they planned, and there are numerous quotes for this, so I've put a number on the screen, because some will say, I don't trust this, I don't trust that, I don't trust the other. Here are references down there, there are references up there, there will be references in other slides, so it comes from different sources. He said, and this was, by the way, on display in the British Museum and could be seen there until it was taken away. The First World War, to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, protector of orthodoxy, and bring about an atheistic communistic state. Did that happen? Yes. Now that was written long before this event. long before this event. This was written in 1871, but this war broke out in 1914. The Second World War, that's also written long before the event, to originate between Great Britain and Germany, to strengthen communism as antithesis to the Judeo-Christian culture, and bring about a Zionist state in Israel. Did it achieve this objective? Yes. In fact, after this war, Israel, in its present form, was reinstated under the protection of Britain. And then, interestingly enough, a Third World War, a Middle Eastern war involving Judaism and Islam and spreading internationally. That's fascinating. Is that on the cards, or what do you think?
That which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspectors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degree, maintaining the purity of the Luciferian doctrine.
When you start laying angles over top of grids, you're going to come up with all kinds of symbols.
Albert Pike. He was a Confederate officer, a general.
He wrote the word Lucifer twice in his book, Morals and Dogma, and he's talking about the origin of the word Lucifer as meaning bringer of light.
So not only do we have political globalization, but we have economic globalization, and we have religious globalization. So when you see any kind of an agenda that contributes to this one world order, or as Bush has called it, New World Order, or, you know, Hitler, who was also of these bloodlines, also referred to New World Order. That seems to be a popular term with them.
Right, and I noticed earlier when you had mentioned it, you just said world order, that you didn't put the new in there. Why is that?
Because it's not new at all.
On the back of the $1 bill, you'll see the crest with the pyramid in it. But that pyramid in the Illuminati consists of 3 pyramids and a sphinx, but their crest is this crest. The Illuminati is the occult organization that we belong to. It means the light bearers. The eye is Lucifer. The triangle of the capstone is the tribunal of the Rothschild family, which is called the Holy Family. They lead the Illuminati. The Illuminati name's not used much anymore, except by everyday people who find out about it. And the political part has a name in each country, and the United States is called the Council of Foreign Relations. Since the time of Woodrow Wilson, including him, there has never been a president of the United States that was not an Illuminati.
Freemasonry and the Illuminati are like a glove in a hand. It's not that every Freemason is in the Illuminati, it's that this is just one more system or lodge or secret society that's controlled by them. There's something that I would point out to our listeners out there in television land, and that is that the movers and shakers do not become rich and powerful and then join the Illuminati. They become rich and powerful because they are part of these Illuminati bloodlines. I could go back and essentially every war that there is, I could go through and show how these families have created them, manipulated them. There's some disinformation out there that I need to clarify, and that is the misunderstanding that's common out there is that this man, Adam Weishaupt, which was a pseudonym, a name that he had taken actually, started the Illuminati. He did create a modern structure for it. He was paid by these families to create a modern structure. But he didn't originate the Illuminati. The Illuminati goes back thousands of years before him. If we go back into antiquity, we will see that there were certain families that were deified as gods, like Pharaoh, Alexander the Great. These powerful families believed they were gods, and they controlled through their priesthoods in these mystery religions the people that were subservient to them. All of the royalty and aristocrats of Europe are descendant from one single bloodline. Then when you go to look at our presidents, you find that 11 of our presidents, at least 11, are part of that bloodline.
Okay, Fritz. Well, you talked about how these Illuminati families, when they have power, and we can see that, then they go into hiding. Most people would say that the Templars, the Knights Templars, were one of these Illuminati structures. Could you explain basically how they supposedly went into hiding? Because you hear about the Templars, they had quite a long reign, and then the French turned against them, and then they were outlawed by the Pope, and then they just disappeared out of history.
Right, and but they didn't. Although the Pope outlawed them, they were able to flee, and initially they went to places in Spain and Portugal, and from there they boarded ships and they sailed to Scotland. And there was a decision made to give Scotland its independence, and the Knights Templars that landed in Scotland then in the Battle of Bannockburn helped the Scottish gain their independence, and then became very prominent in the affairs of Scotland.
Well, you know, Fritz, I saw the movie Braveheart, and I don't remember there being any Templar Knights in that movie.
Yes, that's true, but the movie ended before the Battle of Bannockburn.
Oh, all right, I understand now. Okay. Well, Fritz, now that we know basically a little bit about the Illuminati and about how they structure their system, can you give us a little bit of the mindset of these Illuminati families? I mean, why do these families, these 13 families and other families, feel that they have the right or the authority to control almost every aspect of our lives?
These families, since antiquity, have believed that they were gods, and of course they have been worshipped in many periods as gods. And they continue to pass that prideful belief down from one generation to another. They believe that they're a superior being. Oftentimes, when I've seen quotes by these people or heard people relate what they heard, you see that they refer to us as ants or cattle. And they basically have the idea that they were born to be gods and rule us, and we were born to serve them. They made a decision that they would use Christianity for their own ends. So they established churches that they themselves controlled, and they went behind the scenes and set up a lot of fronts. So what you see, for instance, as proof of what I'm talking about, is at the end of World War II, there was a commission sent around Europe to examine all of the churches and cathedrals that had been damaged by the bombing, and they found something like 80% of these churches had hidden occult altars underneath the Christian altar. That wasn't exposed until they were damaged. In other words, what was happening is these churches were built on ley lines, and satanic rituals had been secretly practiced in these Christian churches all down through the Middle Ages and up to present times. These were sacred sites that the churches were built on. In fact, some of them were built on very sacred Druid sites and things like this. And so the Christian churches were simply functioning as a front so that these people could do what, their human sacrifices and so forth in secret. And of course, then they became pillars of society with their multiple personalities. They could have a front personality that was the ideal Christian, and on the Sabbat, on Friday night, they could be sacrificing somebody, and perhaps on Sunday morning, they could be the reverend that was giving the sermon. If you go throughout Europe, you'll see a large number of the churches had winged reptilian gargoyles put on them, including something that's really bizarre. They would have people, statues of people bent over, how do you describe it on television? They're bent over taking a dump, you know.
And this is on the side of a cathedral?
This is on sides of churches that were built, the statues built, naked people showing their bare bottoms. And if you ask, why did these Masonic trade guilds build gargoyles and people taking an excrement, you're told they did it for Christ.
And I guess, Rich, people really don't understand is that most of Christianity evolved from the Catholic religion. And the word Catholic itself means universal. And so they just went out into their areas and just absorbed all of the local religions of whatever land they were at.
That's very well said. There were a number of mystery religions that bestowed their authority into the Catholic Church. For instance, the mystery religion of Dagon had which was the fish god. And you'll notice that one of the symbols that the Christians use today is the fish. And the Pope's hat, his mitre hat, was the crown of authority of the head of the mystery religion of Dagon.
So you mean, Fritz, when I'm driving around in my car and I see another car in front of me with the little fish symbol on the back of it, that the symbol, in reality, even though they believe it represents Christ, is really a symbol for the Dagon mystery religion?
I don't think that you'll find Christians putting it on there because they worship Dagon. But all I'm doing is saying a lot of these symbols have histories beyond what the Christian church thinks about. I've seen a number of churches with the Masonic Knights Templar logo on the side of their churches.
Mm-hmm. And what logo is that?
It's a cross and a crown.
Cross and crown.
Right. I've seen all-seeing eyes. There's Catholic churches that have the Illuminati all-seeing eye. To someone who hasn't been initiated into, who hasn't studied this, the whole the subject is so vast and so incredible that it's really difficult to absorb. This thing started in antiquity. These people controlled everything back then. They never gave up control, although they have worked through trade guilds and the Masonic Lodge and other things. They've always had the power. They never gave up the power.
You have to understand the agenda. You have to understand who's bringing it about and why before you can see the manipulations and how people are being used and manipulated to bring it about.
The way that this can be done with a very few people, at the peak, that is because if you look at every organization today, be it a university, a school, a government, a secret society, anything, a multinational company, business of any kind, they're structured as a pyramid, which works like this. In any organization, you've got a very, very few people at the peak of the pyramid. That very few people know exactly what that organization's about, what its real agenda is, what it's really trying to achieve. The further you come down from that peak in any organization, you're meeting more and more and more people who know less and less and less and less about what the organization's really about. They only know their part.
For example, if you take Paul Wolfowitz, who runs the World Bank, through him you can control the entire organization. You don't need to control what the dishwasher or the toilet cleaner thinks or does or believes in. You just need to control what he does and what he believes in, and what he does will permeate the entire organization. And that's how you control, with very, very small power base, an entire global population of 6 billion people.
The CIA call this compartmentalization, keeping from everyone else in the pyramid how what they're doing in apparent innocence links in with what other people are doing in apparent innocence to produce a very sinister pattern. So the banking system is a pyramid going to a peak. The intelligence agency network in the world is a pyramid going to a peak. The multinational company network is a pyramid. So is the global media, and so on. And there is a global pyramid within which all these work, in which the peaks of all these individual pyramids, banking, business, media, etc., fuse into one peak. And up there, it's speculated by many people, there perhaps maybe no more than 13 families, 13 people at the peak, pervading down through these different levels the same basic policy, which is pushing the world towards more and more centralization of power.
A lot of what's happening in the world today is because this happened yesterday. Make no mistake about it, everything that is happening in the world today is because of race and religion, and the persecution caused by those two different things throughout the history of the world.
Control of the world. So, who is the Grey Pope? The Grey Pope is allegedly Pepe Orsini from Rome. The Grey Pope is said to be head of the real top bloodline families who rule over the known public 13 bloodlines and the world. Allegedly. The real top 13 bloodlines are House of Borgia, House of Breakspear, House of Somalia, House of Orsini, House of Conti, House of Chigi, House of Colonna, House of Farnese, House of Medici, House of Gaetani, House of Pamphili, House of Este, and House of Aldobrandini. These families allegedly rule over the 13 known public bloodline families, which are, and don't quote me as I say these 13 change over time, Bruce Rothschild Bear, Bruce Cavendish Kennedy, de Medici, Hanover, Habsburg, Krupp, Plantagenet, Rockefeller, Romanov, Sinclair, Warburg del Banco, Windsor Saxe-Coburg Goethe. Of these 13 publicly known bloodline families are allegedly controlled through the Jesuit order, their Knights of Malta, and the Teutonic Knights. These bloodlines are apparently based in Borgo Santo Spirito in Rome, which is said to be missile protected. Let's connect some dots between the families. The eugenicists of Planned Parenthood, the Cecil family, is run by the Jesuit family called the Pallavicini, and Maria Camilla Pallavicini is more powerful than Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen is totally subordinate to the papal bloodline, and the Breakspear family in their Jesuit UK headquarters. David Rothschild married into the House of Aldobrandini by making Princess Olympia Aldobrandini his wife. Another head of these ruling elites is Henry Breakspear, who now resides in Macau, in China. Many of the papal bloodline heads now live in Asia and India. The Black Pope, Adolfo Nicolas, now deceased, was brought forward into his position due to the Jesuits bringing about Asia as the next power player of their agenda. Both this Black Pope and the White Pope aren't of papal bloodline, they're both commoners. The papal bloodlines are the secret shadow hierarchy of the Jesuit order, even behind the Black Pope, who is touted at number 1. These families are from the Egyptian Ptolemaic dynasty rulers, and they are the true hidden rulers of planet Earth. Allegedly. The next in power beneath the Jesuits is the Bourbon King Juan Carlos of Spain, the Roman monarch of the world, the King of Jerusalem, and the sovereign military of Malta as the military navigator. The Jesuits were created by the papal bloodline Farnese during the reign of Farnese Pope Paul III. Loyola was commissioned by Alessandro Cardinal Farnese. The Borgia crime family created the Jesuits. After the terrible reign of Pope Alexander VI, the Romans were disgusted with the Spanish and vowed that there would never be another Spanish pope. This animosity toward the Spanish was further aggravated by the sack of Rome in 1527 in order to prevent the divorce of Henry VIII from Catherine of Aragon. The Borgias' answer to this Spanish animosity was the creation of the Order of Jesuits, a quasi-religious/military strike force whose members were totally dedicated to their Spanish leader, who bore the military title of general. Like the White Pope, the general is elected for life, and the Jesuit dynasty is a parallel or pseudo-papacy. Of course, the general is content to run the show from behind the scenes, so as not to arouse the age-old Italian hatred for the Spanish. The Jesuits were officially founded in 1540 by Pope Paul III. Ignatius Loyola became their first general. Don Francis Borgia was the great-grandson of Pope Alexander VI and co-founder of the Jesuits. On his mother's side he was descended from King Ferdinand of Aragon. For the past 500 years, the Spanish Inquisition has controlled the Vatican by means of the Jesuits. All the Jesuits answer to their general in Rome, and he in turn is content to run the show from behind the scenes, without any publicity or public acclaim so as not to arouse the age-old Italian hostility to the Spanish. So history lesson over. To clarify, the Black Pope isn't the most powerful man in the world, but he is the Jesuit superior general. The second in the throne is the White Pope. The Grey Pope's Vatican created the mafia mob gangster families, so the mafia is a sub-branch of his, and his Vatican created the banking system, economy and money, so the banking economy monetary system is a sub-branch of his. Allegedly. So, is Pepe Orsini the most powerful man right now in the conspiracy over this world? Is a Roman by the name of Pepe Orsini, of the powerful Roman papal bloodline, also known as Orso, and of the ancient Maximus family, running the world? End of transmission.
I joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. Microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon, and when governments don't like a group of people, for instance the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England, missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world, and it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government.
Impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
Almost immediately I had neighbours knocking on the door talking about children bleeding from the nose. I had images posted on Facebook, and one neighbour in particular came to my door and mentioned the fact that since the LED street lighting had been installed, she was bleeding from the nose every single night. I thought was unbelievable. However, I spoke to another neighbour who lived not far from the first lady who mentioned this, and she also confirmed that since the LED streetlight had been installed, she also had started to develop nosebleeds and had never had nosebleeds before in her life. That then put me on a journey to investigate. I measured microwave radiation levels from the transmitters on top of the LED streetlights. The basic 868 megahertz, it was significantly higher than the current Council of Europe 1815 resolution, which is a maximum of 600 millivolts. I've measured up to over 3,000 millivolts.
5 to 6 times higher than the guidelines.
Significantly higher than the current Council of Europe 1815 resolution, which states that 200 millivolts should be the maximum. The Bioinitiative report states that it should be significantly less than that. So we've got the Council of Europe, that's, the international criminal courts are stating that, the learned judges have said that 200 millivolts, and I'm measuring in bedrooms in Gateshead, minimum 600 and up to 4,000.
Does this mean that in 2020, 2021, when 5G is destined to roll out globally, that you're going to get those kind of readings everywhere all the time?
Everywhere all the time.
Worse than that?
Worse than that.
Yes, 5G will connect the Internet of everything. If something can be connected, it will be connected in a 5G world. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers, requiring massive deployment of small cells. We won't wait for the standards. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners, and that's damn important. The interconnected world of the future will be the result of decisions we must make today.
The main issue before us today is Senate Bill 637 and Senate Bill 894, the former by Senator Hune, the latter by Senator Knopf. We're going to invite the first 4 witnesses in support of the legislation, and that would be John Jones with Sprint, David Lewis and Andy Emerson with AT&T, Neil Krevda with Verizon, and Frank Iacovetti Jr. with T-Mobile.
So be straight with me. Is it true?
It could be. No,
well, very
no
few cases.
Proof
there
at
was
all.
an unfortunate
really
incident out in Iowa.
situation.
Look, gentlemen, practice these words in front of the mirror. Although we are constantly exploring the subject, currently there is no direct evidence that links cell phone usage to brain cancer.
I'm Sharon Goldberg. I'm an internal medicine physician. I've practiced medicine for 21 years, and my background is mostly academic, internal medicine, hospital-based, clinical research, and medical education.
I'm a certified Microsoft small business specialist. I've worked on space station designing the cabling system for the airlock module, where I was responsible for EMI/EMC analysis, which is electromagnetic interference, electromagnetic compatibility.
I am a professor in the Department of Epidemiology, Biostatistics, and Occupational Health, and I teach there both toxicology and health effects of electromagnetic radiation.
My name is Daphne Tachover, and I'm the founder of an organization called We Are the Evidence. We are an organization that represents the many adults and unfortunately many children who have become very sick from wireless technology radiation.
There seems to be a couple false Easter eggs being put out there right now. I want to make sure we dispel that right off the gate.
The effects of wireless on health scientifically are very, very clear.
So it's always pushed back to the definition of an acceptable level of radiation. And that's what this is, by the way. This is about radiation.
Wireless radiation has biological effects, period.
My name is Dr. Angie Kolbeck. I've been reviewing the studies showing the impacts of wireless radiation on our health, and there are now thousands of studies showing the following adverse health impacts to wireless radiation: cancer, oxidative damage, DNA failure.
Things like memory, dizziness, anxiety, brain fog.
Headaches, nosebleeds, cognitive problem, exhaustion.
We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure.
Short and long-term memory loss, decreased attention spans, lower reaction times, even involuntary contractions of muscles causing misalignments of spines and jaws.
Breast cancer. We suddenly have breast cancer in women who have no DNA predisposition.
Disrupted immune function and change in stress proteins, reproductive and fertility effects.
There are dozens and dozens of studies that show beyond any doubt what this radiation is doing to our sperm. Now, if you take the cell phone out of your pocket, the sperm will recuperate within 3 to 4 months. What would not recuperate would be the damage to the DNA of the sperm. That is irreparable. The wife of the ex-governor of Indiana was diagnosed with glioblastoma. Same brain tumor Ted Kennedy had and John McCain had. Did you look at John McCain's scar? This is a cell phone brain tumor. LeBron James, one of our sports people, had a salivary gland tumor. That is another cell phone tumor. You didn't hear about it because immediately after that was discovered, he was paid by Samsung to become their spokesperson.
We are seeing increases in brain tumors. We're seeing increases in Alzheimer's. We're seeing increases in all of the neurotransmitter diseases, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's. These are all disease systems that are known to be associated with low-level energy exposures.
We talk about 24/7, around-the-clock exposure, wherever you are and your whole body. You never get away from it. And it seems from our studies that maybe your immune system can cope with for a time, but it will deteriorate. Then the irradiation will definitely damage cells at a deeper level, and the question is what will then happen?
These are out of peer-reviewed papers, so these are not just hypochondriacs thinking that they're doing it. We're having real problems with this.
This is no longer a subject for debate when you look at PubMed and the peer-reviewed literature. These effects are seen in all life forms: plants, animals, insects, microbes. So 5G is not a conversation about whether or not these biological effects exist. They clearly do.
There is scientifically evidence that is so strong that you can be certain that the standards used by the FCC to manage health effects are wrong.
We need to start measuring how much radiation are people being exposed to before we roll out 5G. There are 4 kinds of electromagnetic fields that we know are harmful to human health. So radio frequency radiation, magnetic fields, dirty electricity, and electric fields. Okay? Our exposure, any given person, and all humans are affected by EMFs. What is our exposure in a day? It's not one cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up.
The data we're going to look at are all published science, testing results, or public standards. At the bottom end of the radiation scale of what's called power density, or signal strength, is the minimum level at which cell phones will work, which was found to be 0.2 billionths of a microwatt per centimeter squared. Pine needles were found to age prematurely at 0.000027. At short-term exposures of 0.05, children aged 8 to 17 experienced headache, irritation, concentration difficulties, and behavioral problems. 0.1 is the Bau Biology or Building Biology Guideline for extreme concern. 1.0 produced sperm DNA fragmentation and a decrease in sperm viability in vitro. Also at 1.0, the science shows the following bodily effects can occur: headaches, dizziness, fatigue, insomnia, chest pain, difficulty breathing, and indigestion. 2.5 saw altered calcium metabolism in heart muscle cells. 4.0, changes in the hippocampus affecting brain memory and learning. And at 6.0, DNA damage in cells. So, where are smart meters on this list? Electrical Power Institute in December 2010 measured a single Itron smart meter with pulses up to 7.93 microwatts per centimeter squared. Our own testing indicated approximately 8.0 with 1 meter. These tests are at a close distance, approximately 1 foot away from the meter, but an infant's crib could be just as close on the other side of the wall where the meter or bank of meters are installed. Even though there are all these known health effects at levels far lower, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Luxembourg see fit to set the standard at 9.5. And China, Poland, and Russia, 10.0. This is the same level at which behavior has been altered, producing reflexes of avoidance following 30-minute exposures. A room of 12 smart meters, very common and even a conservative number in an apartment building, tested at 19.8 microwatts per centimeter squared. This is hundreds of times higher than levels which clearly indicate harmful effects. So, how can utilities and governments get away with forcing these devices on everyone? This is how. In Canada and the US and several other civilized countries, the safety limit is set at 600 to 1,000 microwatts per centimeter squared. This so-called safety limit is literally tens of thousands of times higher than levels which are known to damage health according to peer-reviewed published science.
Faster, better, more reliable internet. That's the promise of 5G technology, but there is also the peril. Health hazards associated with radio frequency that is higher also and requires more transmitters and antennas. And the stark, simple fact is the health hazards are unknown and unstudied. And that is a sign of neglect and disregard on the part of the Federal Communications Commission that seems unacceptable. There have been no answers so far. The FCC basically has said everything's fine, but in order to reach a conclusion about the health and safety of this new technology, we need facts.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing. 5G, as you well know, also uses higher frequency waves that don't travel as far and will rely on a network of hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of small cell sites. And the question then is, are there any health implications, any public safety implications to those additional sites that are likely to be located close to homes, schools, workplaces, and closer to the ground? Correct?
Correct, Senator. Yes.
So my question for you, particularly Mr. Gillen and Mr. Perry, how much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? I stress independent research. Is that independent research ongoing? Has any been completed? Where can consumers look for it? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
Thank you, Senator. I think, thank you for your focus on the issue. Safety is paramount, and as you alluded to, we rely on the expert agencies, we rely on the findings of the FDA and others as to the requirements to keep all of us safe. There are no industry-backed studies, to my knowledge right now. Happy to visit with you as to what opportunities you think there needs to be more studies, and we're always for more science. We also rely on what the scientists tell us.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
Anybody else know of industry commitments to back research, fund it, support it, to ascertain scientifically the health effect?
No, I'm not aware of any.
So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here, so far as health and safety is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're a trained medical professional.
Yes.
We don't have one on the panel. What are we to make of the American Cancer Society, for example, telling us there's no evidence of harmful product?
Many of these organizations have conflicts of interest.
Very briefly, if you can, what do you mean by conflict of interest?
One of the first things that you teach residents is that you always have to look at the funding.
There's a tremendous amount of sponsored research by people who are hired to do studies to find no effect. And that's plagued this field in a number of countries.
The radio frequency radiation work that we did was supported by Motorola. The relationship was really very cordial and very stress-free, but only up until we started generating data. These folks were very, very upset and began to talk about how are they going to handle this, what sort of spin can we put on this, what can we expect from this, and from that point on the relationship changed. What we saw was that Motorola began to exert more and more control over the work, telling us what to do, telling us how to write abstracts, what to say in the abstracts, what to say in the papers, how to do the work. No, don't do this. Yes, do it this way. This was unacceptable. I had completed our study of DNA damage, and I submitted the final report to Motorola. They simply weren't willing to accept my interpretation of my study, my evaluation of my study, my knowledge of science at that point, and tried to urge me not to publish the study.
Did you hear about people coming to you as far as having complaints about illness?
We were made aware of health complaints following
bloodlines. Much speculation and theories of these bloodlines have been made, headed by 13 distinct bloodlines. Much speculation and theories of these bloodlines have been made, relating them to everything from the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned in the book of Genesis, including the lost 13th tribe, commonly held to be the Hazar tribe, to the 12 signs of the zodiac. It is fair to say that membership is not exclusive to these bloodlines alone. Nonetheless, the prominence of these bloodlines and their respective roles in finance and politics demands strong observance from those actively pursuing research into the Illuminati mechanism. Number 1. The Rockefeller bloodline. As one of the most obvious and visible bloodlines in the Illuminati genetic strand, the Rockefeller bloodline is overseen currently by David Rockefeller, whose interests include Chase Manhattan Bank, General Electric, Mitsubishi, Exxon and Mobil Oil. The 99-year-old Rockefeller also has been known to have strong ties to the CIA and the National Security Agency, and is both the founding member of the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, as well as serving on the member advisory group of the Bilderberg Foundation. Far from denying his involvement in Illuminati schemes, Rockefeller openly admitted it in his 2002 memoirs. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure, one world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. Number 2. The Rothschild bloodline. The Rothschilds are one of the oldest banking families in international history, and were directly behind both the establishment of the Federal Reserve and both the price of gold as well as its devaluation in 1971 when President Nixon ordered the cancellation of the convertibility of the US dollar to gold, historically known as the Nixon shock. The Rothschild bloodline is currently overseen by both Jacob Rothschild and Benjamin Rothschild, and their combined interests include the LCF Rothschild Trust, RIT Capital, Rio Tinto, a list of over 220 central banks, the Federal Reserve, and the American Bar Association. Number 3. The Kennedy bloodline. A Celtic bloodline with strong ties to Freemasonry and Scottish aristocracy, and as immigration occurred towards the New World of America, organized crime and the Maya. It is worth noting that the Kennedy bloodline, a common Gaelic surname, does not immediately implicate all Kennedys globally or Illuminati members, or even closely related. But it stands as a testament to the ruthless bloodthirst of the Illuminati that one of the most prominent descendants was assassinated for allegedly going against official Illuminati policy, the death of John F. Kennedy, which marked the end of an era in American politics and culture. Number 4. The Astor Bloodline. Founded by John Jacob Astor, a German-born fur trader, merchant, investor and American émigré active in the 18th and 19th centuries, the Astor family, once synonymous with the most elite of the newly moneyed loading in and out of America in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly in New York, appears to have gone out of vogue. But their interest in politics, the British Astor bloodline has had several representatives in Parliament and the Prime Ministry, and reputedly the international drug trade has never waned. This particular bloodline has prominent connections to British and American intelligence agencies, the Pilgrim Society, the Rhodes Scholarship Foundation and numerous private banks, real estate concerns and trusts. In addition, the Astor dynasty has had a strong relationship in Freemasonry, John Jacob Astor becoming heavily involved with New York Masonic lodges upon his immigration to the America, a strange feat for a man who supposedly spoke less than a sentence of English, and other eccentricities. One descendant, Ava Astor, was an avowed occultist and believed she was the reincarnation of an Egyptian princess. Number 5. The Bundy Bloodline. With strong ties to the worlds of government, research, education, science, philanthropy and Yale's secretive Skull and Bones Society, the Bundy family isn't one of the more recognizable names to many Americans. But with Bundy family members serving in such key strategic initiatives as the CIA, atomic research, Harvey Bundy Sr. served as the chief Pentagon liaison during the fabled Manhattan Project of the 1940s, the military, some of America's leading educational institutions, such as Cornell University, Ohio State and Harvard University, and allegedly, occultism. It is known that prominent banker Harry Bundy served as a chief adept in a Masonic Androsecretion Society in Colorado in the early 20th century. That very same lack of recognition makes them all the more dangerous. Number 6. The Collins Bloodline. An enigmatic bloodline with strong ties to military intelligence, law, literature, education and, strangely enough, the church. The latter becomes all the more astonishing when it is revealed that some of the more prominent figures in the bloodline have been actively involved in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism and the occult. Numerous family members have been implicated in sex trafficking and organized crime over the years, leading one to watch clearly both the above-ground activities as well as the more clandestine, shadowy natures of this bloodline. Number 7. The DuPont Bloodline. Best known as heirs to the vast chemical and pharmaceutical dynasty established in 1802 as a gunpowder mill by French émigré E.I. DuPont, this bloodline also maintains strong connections to the American government, with numerous paid representatives serving in key positions in the House of Representatives, Congress and local politics in the state of Delaware. With an estimated combined wealth well into hundreds of billions of dollars and strong ties to both the Astor and Rockefeller bloodlines, the family played a critical role in securing negotiations for the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which helped expand the territory of the Americas westward. More recently, the DuPont family made headlines in 1997, when heir John DuPont, an active philanthropist and sports enthusiast who had been diagnosed as paranoid and psychopathic, was convicted of the murder of Olympic wrestler Dave Schultz. However, the family's connection with several other mysterious deaths and disappearances indicate this may not have been likely to be the first instance of foul play, nor is it likely to be the last. Number 8. The Freeman Bloodline. Priory of Sion is made implicit, as one of the more recent and eminent members of the priory was one Gaylord Freeman, who served as Grand Master from 1963 until 1981, although, in keeping with the priory's innate vows of secrecy, the elderly Freeman publicly denied any involvement or even knowledge of the existence of the society. A well-respected financier, Freeman served as chairman of the First National Bank of Chicago, and was a known advisor to both the Nixon and Ford administrations, also serving on the board of the Rockefeller-founded Trilateral Commission. In addition, members of the Freeman family have known connections with numerous philanthropies as well as serving on the board of the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith. Number 9. The Li Bloodline. An extremely elusive bloodline operating out of Asia and the South Pacific. It is estimated that members of the Li bloodline include financiers, investors and even presidents and premiers in Hong Kong, Singapore, and the People's Republic of China. It has been well documented that David Rockefeller had extensive relations with Chinese Premier Li Peng in the 1980s. The Li bloodline also has extensive ties to the Tongs and other triads of Chinese organized crime. Above ground, this bloodline maintains interests in Canadian Imperial, Cavendish International, Bank of Commerce, Hong Kong Electric, and American Express, as well as maintaining international relations in trading and financing with the U.S. Number 10. The Onassis bloodline. In a DNA strand already consisting of family dynasties who have entered the public lexicon as being synonymous with untold wealth, the Onassis bloodline may be among the more famous. Shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis gained notoriety as the husband of the widowed Jacqueline Kennedy in 1968, while his brother and arch-rival Stavros Niarchos maintained an equally impressive shipping empire, and was rumored to be one of the instigators behind the Suez Crisis of 1956, a crisis that sought removal of then Egyptian President Nasser and effectively crippled transportation along the Suez Canal. The Onassis bloodline has been rumored to have involvement with extortion and bribery tactics since at least 2002, working in collusion with the U.S. and Greek governments, and has been implicated in numerous mysterious kidnappings and deaths, often mysterious drug overdoses, including that of Princess Grace of Monaco. Upon the elder Onassis' death in 1975, Niarchos took control of the bloodline until his death in 1996. It is not certain who currently oversees the dynasty, but there are some indicators that it may be Niarchos' son Spyros, who currently maintains close friendships with numerous financiers and premiers across Europe and the Middle East. Number 11. The Reynolds bloodline. Best known as the progenitors of both R.J. Reynolds and Co. As well as Reynolds Metals, the bloodline maintains an estimated wealth of approximately $80 billion in addition to their monopolization of industries including agriculture and manufacturing. Known for funding lobbyists and research, the Reynolds bloodline has worked closely in conjunction with several U.S. senators and congressmen over the course of some 80 years, orchestrating bribes and payoffs and allegedly working in close conjunction with both organized crime and transportation unions. Number 12. The Russell bloodline. With its unique blend of biblical prophecy and apocalyptic rapture, the Jehovah's Witnesses sect of evangelical Christianity, which maintains over 9 million adherents worldwide, seems like an unlikely source to find an Illuminati bloodline. Yet its founder, Charles Taze Russell, not only introduced his own eschatological fervor into the Illuminati gene pool, but his ideological descendants, numbering some 120,000 congregations, have been alleged to spread chief Illuminati doctrines, with successful civil rights legislations in several countries, as well as high-profile investigations into criminal and sexual abuse reports on behalf of their congregations. What makes it all the more remarkable is that Russell shares the same blood relation to prominent Freemasons and other shadowy organizations, including Yale's Skull and Bones Fraternity, of whom it is said it is funded and operated by the legal trust of the Russell Corporation. It is worth noting that the late Michael Jackson was raised as a Jehovah's Witness until his disassociation in 1987. He is reported to have had a long-standing interest in the Illuminati, and his death in 2009 is still under serious scrutiny, not least of all from family members, who still maintain adherence with the sect. Number 13. The Van Dun bloodline. One of the more obscure bloodlines that make up the Illuminati. It is said that they are descendants from early Dutch settlers of Manhattan in the 17th century, and amassed a fortune as traders, merchants and manufacturers. It is, however, known that one of the founding members of the Planned Parenthood Federation of America, which, in addition to providing affordable medical counseling also provides and encourages birth control and abortion, was one Edward Van Dun, an American physician active in the 1920s and 1930s. Planned Parenthood is known to have received funding from trusts and foundations associated or bearing the direct name of the Astor, Rockefeller and Reynolds bloodlines. Another interesting Van Dun connection may be the radical Dutch agitator and anarchist Roel van Deugen, who as public founder of the Provost Party, orchestrated numerous riots and disturbances throughout the Netherlands in the 1960s and 1970s. Other prominent families who have been known to intermarry into these bloodlines have included the Ford family, the Vanderbilt family, the Hearst family, the Carnegie family, and the Dodge family. Thank you for watching.
22.
Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look forward...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
The tomb has a dark, labyrinth-like layout that spans 3 floors and an attic. It comprises a number of halls and secret cabinets, chambers with mannequins in full armor, candlesticks, old photos, flags and manuscripts, and a sinister collection of bones, supposedly belonging to historical figures, including the skulls of Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa and the Indian chief Geronimo, and even that of Panamanian dictator General Omar Torrijos. In the Keep of the Labyrinth, there is a vault with the enigmatic number 322 on the door. Inside, there are just 2 chairs and a table. This was where the candidates are said to meet Madame, a skeleton that is supposed to be that of Madame Pompadour.
The 322 is an identification. The order has a temple on the Yale campus.
Temple?
A temple, yes. It's a building maybe this 50, 60 feet by 40 feet, maybe 40 feet high. There's no windows, 2 big steel doors. We know what the temple looks like because back in 1880s, a number of Yale students became a little unhappy about what was going on inside this temple. When they went by it at midnight, sometimes they heard strange noises and all kinds of rumors on the Yale campus as to what this might be.
Then to the right, you have a hedge, and then you have an evergreen tree. If you follow that line straight back, courtyard's in there.
Ah, okay.
So
that's where they have the ceremonies in
the outdoor part of it. Part of it was indoors, so we only got to see the outdoor part.
Right.
We only got and to listen to the outdoor part. God only knows what went on indoors.
And what did you hear? What was it you know? You managed to get this unique
it was
access to it.
disgusting. It was gross. I mean, they were pretending to murder people. And
What was the tone of it, though? Was it jokey or was it
vicious.
quite...
No, it wasn't jokey at all. It was sick. It's about the only way I can describe it. It was sick.
What you're hearing is the first recording ever made of the Skull and Bones initiation ceremony. It has never been broadcast before. 15 new members of the club are being introduced into the macabre rituals of Skull and Bones by the senior students who are about to graduate. The club has what some might see as a strange fascination with death, skulls and bones. There's the chants too, difficult to hear first of all, but including the devil equals death and death equals death. These rituals have been honed over centuries, giving the society a weird set of traditions, rules and secrets. For example, initiates are known as neophytes, outsiders are called barbarians, and the number 322 is sacred.
Critics of Skull and Bones insist that the society is not originally American, but rather an offshoot of some German right-wing order. This could well be true. Its founder, William Russell, did indeed live for some time in Germany before attending to his senior year at Yale. And it was actually on returning to the USA that he established the fraternity. Always according to its critics, the number 322, the order's identifying number, hides a coded message. The 32 represents the year of its foundation, 1832, and the additional 2 stands for the fact that it's the second chapter within an international order. Alexandra Robbins, a Yale graduate and author of a book on the subject, stated that the society owns a valuable collection of Nazi objects and memorabilia, and eats its dinners off Hitler's private silk service. A large part of their liturgy is written in German. Who was the fool? Who was the wise man? Beggar or king? Whether poor or rich, all's the same in death.
There was a break-in to the temple, and the students who broke in cataloged what they found, and they made a drawing, a design of the interior of the temple. And 3 of the rooms are numbered. One is 322, one is 323, and one is 320.
This time, we are going to explore the story of a cult that was suspected of international human trafficking in 1987.
322 is also, I suspect, the chapter number. And also in correspondence between members, they conclude their correspondence where you and I would conclude yours truly or yours sincerely. They conclude yours in 322. Why 322? There are several theories for this. One is that the order originated with Demosthenes, the Greek, in 322 BC. That's one theory. Another one is that it stems from the founding date in the United States, which was 1832. So really we have the last two numbers, 32, the second chapter, founded in 1832. The skull and crossbones are prominent in their ceremonies, initiation ceremonies.
This is a symbol of death. Now, why would they take a symbol of death?
Yes, from what I understand, when a new member is initiated, that would be in the senior year at Yale, he's placed within a coffin.
Oh my.
And now we only know this from the Yalegate papers, at least I call it Yalegate. And from the photographs we have of members inside the temple, many of these photographs are the 15 sitting around a table, and they have this skull and the crossbones sitting on the table in front of them. It is the symbol of death, and it has been called the Brotherhood of Death, and I think it probably more adequately should be called the Brotherhood of Death. So what I've had to do is look at the history, the biographies of the leading members of the order, and reconstruct their career, and see if there's a common pattern in their careers. While doing that, I came across some interesting documents. Some members apparently are not too happy once they become involved with this after 10 or 20 years. One member in particular left a memorandum. He wrote it in 1932. It was buried away in his papers. I don't think anybody found it before I did. And it was a 6-page memorandum on the order, naming some of the members, and said it was the most sordid thing ever happened in the history of man. So, but to come back to my point, I have to reconstruct the objectives. What are the objectives? In the words of one member, might is right. If you have the power, you use it to achieve your objectives. What is the objective? As you look at the histories of individual members, it can only be one thing: to acquire power, to keep power, to use power for their own purposes.
In 1930, Prescott Sheldon Bush, father of President George H. and grandfather of President George W., a member of the Skull and Bones class of 1917, and president of the Union Banking Corporation, engaged in a number of profitable business deals with Fritz Thyssen, the German steel tycoon who supplied Hitler's war machine. The UBC was closed by President Truman during the Second World War under the Trading with the Enemy Act. In other words, for doing business with the Nazis. Apart from Prescott Bush, several other directors of the Union Banking Corporation in New York were also 1917 bonesmen, including E. Roland Harriman and Ellery Sedgwick James. In 1938, Bush, by then executive associate of Brown Brothers Harriman, issued a loan to Hitler's Germany to enable the latter to import American Standard Oil fuel. Skull and Bones membership certainly has its privileges. At least 3 American presidents were or are bonesmen: George W. Bush, his father George H. Bush, and William Taft. The proposition that this small club of the well-to-do pulls the strings of American power, and through it those of the whole world, by placing its associates in key power positions, is supported by substantial evidence. The elections of 2004 saw the almost impossible come true. Both the Republican candidate George W. Bush and his Democrat rival, John F. Kerry, were members of Skull and Bones. That's to say, prior to running as representatives of parties that supposedly propound opposite political visions, they had both sworn allegiance to the same mysterious principles. And what's worse, they share secrets that are not known to their own constituents. Each year, only 15 students entering their senior year at the University of Yale are admitted. The candidates must have been tapped by those senior classmen of Yale University who make up the current membership. The criterion for selection also includes the candidate's potential to increase the power and prestige of the society. 2 votes against the candidate are enough for him to be rejected. During their initiation, candidates must recount all their sexual exploits. Finally, they are expected to perform various oaths, kiss some feet, and drink blood. They then have to lie naked in a coffin, and, after masturbating in full view of the others, swear to never reveal their membership of the order. The candidates are then introduced to their future companions, who wear masks for the occasion. Uncle Toby, the Knights, the Small Devil, Don Quixote, and the Pope. Their ceremony ends with a grand party that lasts for hours.
Breed, exactly.
Now, Tony, what has this breed done? What are their chief accomplishments in molding domestic and foreign policy and actual events in American history since their founding at Yale?
One is they have acquired enormous political and financial power. You'll find representatives of the order in politics.
What have they done with this power? What has happened to America that would not have happened had they not been the order?
Creation of war and revolution.
Specifically, which ones?
The third book in this series, which I'm bringing out, takes 2 wars and 1 revolution. Well, 2 revolutions in 1 war. World War II, the Bolshevik Revolution, and the rise of Hitler, which I call a revolution in Germany. We can find the order behind the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution. We can find behind the rise of Hitler. We can find in the maintenance of both of these systems, the transfer of technology to both.
Since you've already proven that Wall Street is behind the Bolshevik Revolution and the rise of Hitler, now you're proving that the order is behind Wall Street.
Exactly.
Now, who's the key figure in the order or figures that mold Wall Street?
In order of dominance, Averell Harriman, partner in Brown Brothers Harriman. Stanley of Morgan Stanley. It used to be J.P. Morgan, then it became Morgan Stanley. Those 2 are the key.
Now, what did the order want to accomplish in the Bolshevik Revolution?
You create opposing forces which you place in conflict. Out of conflict, you've got profit. You've got political power. And you can direct history. And if you look at the writings, for example, of the Trilateral Commission, they talk openly in the Trilateral Commission about managing conflicts, not solving conflicts, but managing conflicts. Conflict management. That's the cry.
So they got the profit, the power, and the management. Mm-hmm. Where do they want to steer history through the Bolshevik Revolution?
They wanted to set up, and they did, 2 opposing forces. Out of that came World War II. There were logical steps in the process. They used the same bank, Guaranty Trust Company, as the conduit for the financing of Hitler, and also as a conduit for financing, and also the early days of the Russian Revolution. In fact, in Russia, Soviet Russia, In 1923, a vice president of Guarantee Trust Company was the foreign director of the Roscombank, which was the first Soviet overseas bank that was set up. They were that close in those days. You'll get a very close relationship between the early Hitler days and members of the order, which is in the third book.
By the end of the 1980s, the scandal concerning the Bank of Commerce and Credit International was making the headlines. The BCCI was accused of laundering drug money and financing terrorist operations. The scandal tarnished the reputation of the US government, since the bank operated freely in America and was a regular contributor to political campaigns. The administration of Bonesman George H. Bush blocked the investigation, which had in any case been entrusted to a Senate commission chaired by Bonesman John Kerry. The BCCI was absorbed by more respectable banks, and the subject was never revived. The government of the world's only superpower is packed with Bonesmen. George W. Bush named 11 Bonesman officials in his first government. Add to this various senators, congressmen, and chief justices, directors of the CIA, the Federal Reserve, and directors of banks such as J.P. Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. The American media is little different. Among others, Time and Newsweek magazines, in theory competitors, were both founded by Bonesmen. The oldest and most influential families also belong to this select club. Bush, Bundy, Harriman, Lord, Phelps, Rockefeller, Taft, Whitney. All of them have undergone the odd all have spilled their darkest secrets. All have been ritually humiliated in front of their peers, and all of them owe loyalty to the order. It is estimated that there are some 800
with Washington, D.C. It's a city overflowing with esoteric symbolism. Zooming in from space as we can in Google Earth, let me point out a few landmarks. Here's the White House, Capitol Building, Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, and the Pentagon just across the Potomac. Rick Campbell has uncovered much of the underlying geometry of the city on his informative site, dcsymbols.com. He sees the following diagram in the streets and interconnection of monuments. The geometry consists of a pentagram over a cube, all contained within an overarching pyramid. Each one of these shapes carries a meaning we'll be exploring. We'll see later in Egypt how the pentagram symbolizes the microcosm, which is everything in the universe, human scale or smaller. The cube is a recurrent esoteric symbol for the body that we'll be running into all over the world. I found a pair of 3, 4, 5 triangles between the cube and the pyramid. Turning off the cube layer, you see the rectangle surrounding the White House is also made up of a pair of interlocking triangles, this time with 5, 12, 13 proportions. 3, 4, 5 and 5, 12, 13 are the first two Pythagorean triplets. As you'll begin to appreciate, Pythagorean knowledge figures prominently in decoding this mystery. Where have we seen an unfinished pyramid before? On the back of the dollar bill, of course. If we illuminate the DC pyramid with the same all-seeing eye of providence, we are directed to a specific building. Is this the eye of providence we are looking at, or its older incarnation as the eye of Horus? Either way, what is behind the all-seeing eye of the sun? It's the headquarters of Scottish Freemasonry, which goes by many names, including the Supreme Council, Mother Council of the World, and House of the Temple. This building is loaded with Egyptian symbolism, with a 13-step unfinished pyramid on top, just like on the dollar bill, and 2 giant sphinxes flank the entrance out front. The architect John Russell Pope modeled the 1911 building after the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, now a part of Turkey. As one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, it served as tomb of King Mausolus, which is where we get the word mausoleum. The House of the Temple correspondingly serves as tomb of Albert Pike, Sovereign Grand Commander, Confederate General, and the most famous Freemason of his times. Pike wrote Morals and Dogma, the handbook formerly given to new members up until 1974, which details the 33 ranks of Freemasonry. The House of the Temple is where the climax in the Lost Symbol takes place. Campbell shows how the elevation was designed ad quadratum, which is Latin for by the square. Ad quadratum is a sacred design template we'll see employed in the District of Columbia itself and at Chartres Cathedral. The sunburst above the entry is at the center of the square, and the top corner marks the symbolic apex of the unfinished pyramid. The bottom corner presumably marks the crypt where Pike is interred. Scottish Freemasons are really into the number 33. There are 33 columns in the House of the Temple that are 33 feet high. This is the place where a hard-working initiate can attain the highest 33rd degree from the 33 members of the Supreme Council. 33rd degree Masons are often found in positions of power. Many presidents of the United States were Freemasons. The Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania has a permanent exhibit featuring the portrait and signature of each of these presidents with a record of their Masonic careers. It is difficult to verify Masonic membership because some members do not make their involvement a matter of public record. However, each lodge keeps its own records. I find it interesting that George Washington, Harding, Eisenhower, Carter, and the younger Bush all chose to be sworn into the office of the president with a hand on this Masonic Bible dating from 1770. One has to be male and believe in a supreme being to seek membership as a Scottish Freemason. They insist their fraternity is not a religion, although atheists are ineligible for membership. Freemasonry is not a secret society, but members are strongly admonished under pain of death not to reveal core secrets. Much of what happens inside the House of the Temple has been pieced together by outside researchers in recent years, and this has been brought forward. Members can rise to the 32nd degree through hard work and study, but only those selected by the Supreme Council may attain the highest 33rd degree. Richard Hoagland and Mike Barra have dredged up the most interesting connections between the Scottish Freemasons and NASA. Here is Cape Canaveral at Kennedy Space Center. These are the 2 launch pads where all the Apollo and Space Shuttle missions left Earth. Here is the single runway, runway 33. Of all the vectors they could have chosen for the strip, why did NASA choose 33 degrees west of north? If that seems like circumstantial evidence to you, how about this? Here is astronaut Buzz Aldrin, 33rd degree Mason, on the moon holding the flag of the Supreme Council, which he later brought back to Earth and gave to the Supreme Commander of the House of the Temple.
I am no longer employed by this company. I chose to leave because I could no longer in good conscience work for a career.
Know that the Freemasons and NASA are obsessed with this number. I'm wondering what's so special about 33. Where else does this number appear? Jesus is said to have performed 33 miracles and to have died at age 33. Perhaps this is no coincidence. The Bible says King David, father of the famous Solomon who built the first temple in Jerusalem, reigned for 33 years. In the Kabbalah, or Jewish mysticism, there are 10 Sephiro in the Tree of Life, plus another hidden one called Doth. Adding the 22 paths between Sephiro brings the total up to the magic 33. My theory involves the Schumann resonance. This is the frequency at which the Earth vibrates. Scientists have measured this standing wave at 7.83 Hertz, with a wavelength equal to the circumference of the Earth. This inaudible low hum is due to lightning discharges in our conductive ionosphere, causing the planet to actually ring like a bell. If you do the simple calculation which I've done here in a spreadsheet, you'll see that middle C is 33 harmonics, or 32 overtones above the Schumann resonance. Sound implausible? Think of it this way. Our bodies resonate 33 octaves above the Earth's fundamental vibration. This fits with the ancient Hermetic motto, as above, so below. I find it incredible that the UN emblem divides the Earth into 33 sectors. This has to be more than coincidental. The human spinal column appropriately has 33 vertebrae if you count the fused bones in the lower spine individually. 33 might very well be built into the architecture of the universe. For further confirmation, let's take a look at the Great Seal of the United States of America, as shown on the back of a $1 bill. Let's start with the obverse side of the Great Seal. That's the side with the eagle. Most important to our current line of inquiry, let's count the number of feathers on the wings. The left wing has 33 feathers, and the right wing has 32. Could these refer to the 33 harmonics or 32 overtones just discussed in relation to the Schumann resonance? I think Rick Campbell has correctly decoded the controlling geometry. 3 circles with their centers on each other's circumferences form a kind of double Vesica Pisces, if you will. A Vesica Pisces is formed whenever 2 equally sized circles come together such that their centers are on each other's circumferences. A Star of David emerges from the 3 circles' intersection points. Examining the reverse of the Great Seal, we find the same controlling geometry. Look at the letters picked out of the mottos Annuit Coptis and Novus Ordo Seclorum. Never mind right now what these mottos signify. The letters at the points of the Star of David are A, S, N, O, and M. Rearranging, we get Mason. So to summarize, we've seen how the House of the Temple presides over a street pyramid in Washington, D.C. There is a clear Masonic connection to the office of the President, NASA, and the United Nations. The Scottish Freemasons are obsessed with the number 33, which is echoed in the Judeo-Christian tradition, having a resonance both with the human body and the earth. It's no secret that Masons trace their history back through the Knights Templar. I was amazed to discover there is an urban village straight across the Potomac from the White House called Rosslyn. Many researchers believe one of the Templar factions fled to Scotland after the infamous raid that destroyed their order. Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland was the place featured in the Da Vinci Code, where Sophie learned she was a direct descendant of Jesus, and where she was reunited with her bloodline. Friday the 13th, October 1307, was the date most of the Templars got arrested, had their considerable assets seized, were interrogated and tortured to death by agents of the French king, acting in cooperation with the Pope. Knowing the connections between the Templars, Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, and the Scottish Freemasons made me take a closer look at Rosslyn, Virginia. Rosslyn has 2 important features, a dense urban village and the Marine Corps War Memorial. So I drew a line from the center of the Marine Corps Memorial in Rosslyn, Virginia, to the center of Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. You've got to love Google Earth. The Great Circle Path passes precisely over the apex of the Eye of Providence and the entire DC Street Pyramid, arguably confirming my line of reasoning. Before we leave Scotland entirely, let's take a detour to Edinburgh. The Royal Mile is Edinburgh's oldest and busiest tourist street. If we measure a line from the facade of Holyrood Abbey, built in 1128 by King David I of Scotland, to the circular tower in Edinburgh Castle, built by the same king, we find that it measures almost precisely 8/7 of a mile. The Royal Mile referred to in Edinburgh is therefore the Egyptian Royal Mile by definition. This is a memorable and important unit because, as Richard Heath shows in his book Sacred Number and the Origins of Civilization, There are exactly 3,456 Egyptian royal miles in the polar radius of the Earth. King David built these structures right at the beginning of the Knights Templars' existence, shortly after the Knights returned from Jerusalem and the Gothic building explosion began. Could King David I of Scotland have been connected to the knowledge the Templars unearthed from the House of David in Jerusalem? Let's return to Washington, D.C. and see how the Royal Mile is encoded there in plain sight.
It will be us and them. They know this. Why do you think the UN is consistently trying to disarm the public and the nations? They don't want us to be capable of fighting back. The proof of this is in the film released by the UN called Armed to the Teeth, where it demonizes gun ownership. It is also shown in the Freedom from War policy put in place by JFK in 1961.
President John Kennedy went to the United Nations September 1961, and he presented the United States program for general and complete disarmament in a peaceful world during a speech, and he said, "This is the official program of the United States of America. It's a disarmament program. It calls for the United States to turn over its military to the United Nations." Now, let that sit for a second. It calls for the United States to turn over its military to the United Nations. The program ends by saying progressive controlled disarmament would proceed to a point where no state would have the military power to challenge the progressively strengthened UN peace force. The UN would have all military power.
This policy outlines some pretty scary scenarios when you understand what it reads. It calls for the disbanding of all national armed forces and the prohibition of their reestablishment in any form whatsoever other than those required to preserve internal order and for contributions to a United Nations peace force. This clearly shows that the UN is calling for all military power to be under their control. Inspection and verification must establish both that nations carry out scheduled limitation or reductions and that they do not retain armed forces and armaments in excess of those permitted at any stage of the disarmament process. Strategic delivery vehicles will be reduced. Arms and armed forces will be reduced. And all the while, UN peacekeeping powers would be strengthened. A UN Peace Observation Group would be available to investigate any situation which might constitute a threat to or a breach of the peace. Establishing of a permanent international peace force within the United Nations, and depending on the findings of an experts commission, a halt in the production of chemical, bacteriological, and radiological weapons, and a reduction of the existing stocks or their conversion to peaceful uses. Peaceful uses of biological, chemical, and radiological weapons? Do you see how they are perverting the word peace and making this policy sound unilaterally good? There is no other way to read this publication. It clearly states that all nations will hand over their military forces to a global United Nations military.
This time, we are going to explore the story of a cult that was suspected of international human trafficking in 1987. The Finders Cult was a young group of men, women, and children who claimed to be nothing more than former hippies living an alternative lifestyle and practicing alternative parenting. The Finders were founded by a mysterious man with military connections nicknamed the Game Caller, who believed in turning his life and the lives of those around him into a constant game or experiment. Although more than 30 years have passed since the Finders made their way to the front page of newspapers all over the world, questions still remain. Did the Game Caller's games involve trafficking of children? What exactly were the Finders finding? Why did this story make mainstream headlines and then disappear in less than a week? Was the story part of the moral panic of the 1980s or something more? We will answer these questions, and most importantly, we ask, who will find what the Finders hide? As we examine the story of the Finders Cult, I would like to make all of our viewers aware that everything in this film is documented and can be confirmed by looking at our transcript and sources. This story deals with accusations of satanic activity, child trafficking, and intelligence operations. We take these claims seriously and went to great lengths to confirm the information we are about to present to you. On a chilly February morning in 1987, an anonymous caller tells the Tallahassee Police Department that two well-dressed men are at a local park with 6 kids and a blue van. The children are described as looking disheveled with potential signs of abuse. Tallahassee police arrive and question Douglas E. Ammerman and Michael Houlihan. The two men say they are taking the kids to a school for brilliant children in Mexico. The men also say the children are being weaned from their mothers. Authorities eventually take the men and children into custody. A search of the van turns up 20 floppy computer disks, a TSR-80 computer, and a, quote, device that police say could be used to hook into a computer in another location by a telephone, end quote. Immediately, it becomes clear this case is not like any other. Following the arrest, the Associated Press reports that police had moved the 6 children from a shelter after receiving a half-dozen phone calls threatening the kids. The children were moved to an undisclosed location where they were being protected by armed guards. When interviewed by the police, the kids say the men are their teachers, that they have been living in a house with other children and adults. The police report also notes the kids are eating a raw food diet, covered in bug bites, and only fed as a reward for good behavior. The children are unaware of modern technology, including phones, televisions, hot water, staplers, typewriters, and electricity. The oldest child, Mary, says they receive instructions from a man they call a game caller or a game leader, the founder of the Finders, also known as Marion Petty. By Thursday, February 5th, Tallahassee police confirm the children and men are a part of a group known as the Finders. U.S. District Court records in Washington indicate a confidential police source previously told authorities the Finders were a cult that conducted brainwashing techniques at a warehouse and apartment in Washington, D.C. This source tells of being recruited by the Finders with promises of, quote, financial reward and sexual gratification, end quote, and of being invited by one member to explore Satanism with them. At this point, officials with the U.S. Customs Service Agency join the investigation due to suspicion that the potential crimes may have crossed state or national borders. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigations are also said to be investigating the case. After learning the children are based in the D.C. area, the Tallahassee Police Department contacts D.C. Metropolitan Police to establish the identities of the children. Tallahassee police learn that D.C. police are already aware of the Finders. On Friday, February 6th, Virginia State Police raid a 90-acre farm owned by Marion Petty in rural Madison County, Virginia. Neighbors of the farm say children were often brought to the farm in vans, usually crying. An FBI report states that, quote, evidence of a satanic cult ritual was discovered, end quote. The same report notes that all reports regarding Finders are to be classified secret. Meanwhile, D.C. Metro Police and U.S. Customs Service agents raid other Finders properties, including a duplex apartment building and a warehouse in Washington, D.C. Police reports and articles from 1987 indicate that the D.C. police removed large plastic bags filled with color slides, photographs, and photographic contact sheets from the warehouse. Some of the photos were of naked children. U.S. Customs spokesman David Hoover tells the Post, quote, we're not saying it's pornographic, but it has all the earmarks, end quote. A U.S. Customs Service report described some of the photos as showing blood rituals involving children slaughtering goats while adults in white robes watch. It also describes that they found instructions on how to purchase children. The importance of this report, written by U.S. Customs Service agent Raymond J. Martinez, will become clear as we move on. The Customs Service then claimed to be looking into allegations of child pornography. Police spokesman Scott Hunt states that the Finders may have, quote, been accustomed to selling or smuggling the children of its members out of the country, end quote. Then Captain William White of the D.C. Police Department declines to speculate on what the possibilities might be, but reports written by D.C. Police state that law enforcement believe the possibilities include kidnapping or some type of international market for children. Police investigator Cheryl Wignan says more than one of the children has been sexually abused, but she won't say exactly how many. Genghis Plato, also known as Robert Gardner Terrell, was the spokesperson for the Finders and the owner of a D.C. house that police say was used by members of the group. Terrell tells reporters the group are simply, quote, rational people and not devil worshippers or child molesters. Then another spokesman for the Finders named Diane Sherwood states the group are, quote, hardworking with a Protestant ethic. We don't even think we are a group, she says. We are just a network of co-operators. By Monday, February 9th, 5 days after the children and their 2 male chaperones were arrested, Washington Metro Police announced they have found no evidence of wrongdoing or satanic activity by the Finders. Health officials in Florida then say they have no evidence of sexual abuse of the children. D.C. Metro Police Chief Maurice Turner Jr. states that the department has not uncovered any evidence to, quote, corroborate allegations made by an informant that the organization is a cult and that its activities involve satanic rituals, end quote. By Thursday, February 12th, Gary Shepard of the FBI's Washington field office says the FBI investigation has, quote, not uncovered any evidence of federal violations, end quote. But according to the New York Times, quote, the statement from the Metropolitan Police Department conflicts with accounts from police in Tallahassee, Florida, where the children were found, unwashed and hungry. Officials there say that morning, at least 2 of the children had signs of sexual abuse. Despite the initial reports, by the end of the week, headlines are reporting that charges are dropped and that the whole situation was a giant misunderstanding. Just like that, it's gone from the news. Now, to be fair, it's true that a so-called moral or satanic panic seemed to grip the United States in the 1970s and 80s, where parents were suspecting all kinds of people being involved in devil-worshipping cults or child trafficking networks. And although the vast majority of these cases have been dismissed as paranoia, the story of the Finders deserves a deeper look. Let's start by examining the available law enforcement documentation on the Finders. Documenting the Finders. The Finders cult incident in Florida took place more than 30 years ago. Although the mainstream version of events says the whole thing was blown out of proportion, a reading of the reports from the Tallahassee Police Department, the FBI, and U.S. Customs Service leaves more questions than answers. The Customs Service report has been widely reported and circulated, and the FBI documents were released through Freedom of Information Act requests. In 2018, thanks to the work of an activist, the 75 pages of Tallahassee police reports were also finally released to the public. This is the story of those documents. Tallahassee Police Department reports. On Wednesday, February 4th at 4:50 p.m., Tallahassee police officer Tony Mashburn responds to an anonymous call regarding 2 well-dressed men seen supervising 6 children at Myers Park in Tallahassee, Florida. The detective files a report with the department following the incident. His report serves as one piece of historical documentation of the case of the Finders. Mashburn's report states that the, quote, children were very dirty and unkept, with, quote, bug bites on their entire body and scratches on their leg. Mashburn also reports, quote, when asked about the parents of the children, suspect number 1 became very evasive and stated that the children's parents were in D.C. Suspect number 2 refused to give this writer any information, and he pretended to faint when he was told he was under arrest. A second report written by Tallahassee police officer Judy Sokoki notes that the oldest child, Mary, does not know her last name, but knew that one of the men was her father. She states that the men had several aliases. When asked where they were going, the children say they do not know, they were just, quote, going different places and staying at campgrounds. The children also say they hadn't seen their mothers for 2 months, since before Christmas, because they were being weaned from their mothers. The report states that the kids told officers the adults in their community had to do what the game caller told them to do, and that the kids did what the adults told them to. The children say they were not allowed in the house. The kids also told authorities that the adults communicated with the game caller, aka Marion Petty, via a computer in the van. Later in the report, it notes that the children claimed Marion Petty, quote, owns a man named Steve, end quote. When eldest child Mary was questioned about sexual abuse, she became very evasive. She said there were no, quote, bad touches between the children and adults, and reportedly became fidgety and wanted the interview to end. The same police report mentions that an official with the Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services, or HRS, said the 2 children were confirmed cases of sexual abuse. Jane Patia of HRS stated that a Dr. Mora had found one of the children lacked, quote, anal spectral control consistent with acts of sodomy. Also, one of the girls had signs consistent with vaginal penetration by the fingers. On February 8th, Tallahassee police filed another report mentioning a curious incident involving a computer found on Florida State University campus in front of the library. Apparently, on Thursday, February 5th, a student named Robert Sorkin spotted the computer inside of a phone booth and decided to take it home. After he saw details relating to the Tallahassee police investigation, he turned it over to law enforcement, who determined the owner of the computer was, quote, obviously persons who are involved with a group called the Finders, end quote. A similar TSR-80 computer was also found in the group's van. Once the warehouses in D.C. were raided, D.C. Metro Police shared the details of their findings with the Tallahassee Police Department. In one report, D.C. Detective Bill Cagney describes finding a library of books which included books, quote, concerning mind control, end quote. By February 8th, Detective Jim Bradley of the D.C. Metro Police says he finds no evidence of satanic activity at either D.C. residence. On February 10th, the Tallahassee Police are told by Lieutenant Lee Hart of the Culpeper, Virginia Police Department that he has a contact within the Finders. This contact alleges that Marion Petty has notified all finders to flee and hide. Curiously, Lieutenant Cart tells the TPD that Petty would, quote, probably go to Andrews Air Force Base and get a military plane to China, end quote. The strange thing is there are several mentions of connections to China elsewhere in the Tallahassee Police Department report and in the U.S. Customs report. Why were the finders men carrying a Chinese-English dictionary with them? Mary said she learned to count to 10 in Chinese from a Chinese man at the warehouse, and, as we'll see in a moment, the U.S. Customs report on the finders mentioned that children were being ordered from a contact in Hong Kong. When the Tallahassee police are finally able to determine and locate the mothers of the children, the women deny any allegations of satanic activity or sexual abuse of the children by the group. The women claim they don't know why the men have multiple fake IDs or why they use the traveling to a school for brilliant children in Mexico excuse. The mothers tell police their lifestyle does not abuse children, but instead holds them in high esteem. This seems difficult to square with the fact that the kids were found covered in bites and scratches and malnourished with little food. The women go on to describe the finders' lifestyle as rejecting private property in favor of communal property and centering around, quote, ongoing loyalty, dependence, devotion to each other. The police report's description of the group's parenting style resembles modern unschooling methods. This hands-on method includes trips to the zoo, learning in nature, and apparently learning how to slaughter and skin a goat. When confronted, the women say the white robes the men were wearing during the goat slaughter were actually sheets used to cover their clothes from blood. The mothers also contradict the children by saying the kids are allowed to eat whenever they want rather than at predetermined mealtimes. On Wednesday, investigator Rick Huffman is made lead investigator. By February 24th, Huffman has officially ended the Tallahassee Police Department's investigation into the finders. Huffman writes, quote, as to whether the children had actually been abused or neglected at the time of arrest seems to hinge on whether the children being dirty, possibly hungry, and living under camping conditions constitutes abuse or neglect. Huffman concludes, quote, this investigator has learned of no group or individual actions which appear abusive or neglectful. Huffman does not mention the reports of sexual abuse by doctors with HRS. And with that, the Tallahassee Police Department's investigation into the finders cult came to an end. The other main source documents are a series of memos from the U.S. Customs Service, the predecessor to the current U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency. The memos were written by U.S. Customs agent Raymond J. Martinez. In these pages are the most damning accounts of alleged trafficking of children and potential connections to intelligence agencies. Martinez filed 3 memos, 2 of which describe his experience participating in the search of the warehouse in D.C. alongside the Metro Police. Once the Customs Service was notified that the children were allegedly en route to Mexico, a customs investigation was launched. The Metro Police reportedly contacted Customs because the agency maintains a network of child pornography investigators. Martinez notes that his office was contacted by Detective Jim Bradley with the Metro Police Department because he believed the Tallahassee case was strongly related to a case he was investigating in D.C. Bradley also told Martinez that he originally investigated the 2 addresses connected to the finders in December of 1986, 2 months before the incident in Florida. An informant had given Bradley information regarding a cult known as the Finders, operating various businesses out of a warehouse. The information was specific in describing blood rituals and sexual orgies involving children, and a yet unsolved murder in which the Finders were alleged to be involved. Martinez's report states that during the execution of the warrant on the warehouse, he was, quote, able to observe and access the entire building, end quote. As authorities searched the building, they found tons of documents, a large library, a sauna, computers, maps with locations highlighted, a room with video recording equipment, and much more. Martinez says his search of the documents revealed the following: detailed instructions for obtaining children for unspecified purposes, instructions on the impregnation of female members of the finders, telex messages using MCI mail, an early version of email. One such telex message specifically ordering the purchase of 2 children in Hong Kong to be arranged through a contact in the Chinese embassy. Another telex message expressing interest in bank secrecy situations. Documents identifying interest in high-tech transfers to the UK and numerous properties under the control of the finders. Documents relating to terrorism, explosives, and invasion of law enforcement. A detailed summary of the events surrounding the previous night's arrest and of the 2 adults and 6 children in a town.
See if the history that we have been given actually lines up with what we see in these pictures. So here we go.
this imposing structure, into the great hall where General Electric assembled its galaxy of exhibits, electric devices and marvels of electricity, each designed to play its part in human betterment. Beneath the famous monogram, the entrance to the House of Magic, wonder show of science. Nearly 700,000 people pass through these portals to sit spellbound while mysteries of modern electrical research were clearly explained.
And if we are to remain leaders in quality of product in the future, then it's just up to us to be leaders in pure science research today.
First of all, there's computers are taking over now. Computers and automation. I think it'll be people will be regarded more as statistics than as actual people. I don't think it's going to be so nice. I think sort of all machines everywhere.
When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point, and the traditional role of the city as a meeting place for man would have ceased to make any sense. I only hope that when that day comes, and when the city is abolished, the whole world isn't turned into one giant meta.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I say? Come like Duppy in the house. Hey, Duppy in the house, you know. I don't know how that switch off. The microphone switch off, but it was switch off. All right, yo, sis. Enough love now. Yeah, man, for real, man. You helped me write this a lot because I was going to say a lot. You know what I mean? Or I was going to say important stuff. Or when I look, it's just like, you know what I mean? Yeah, sis, it's like the microphone turn off. So, sis, yeah, man, enough love. You know what I mean? Every clap, me clap. You know, say I pump the heart. You know what I mean? So, you know, say a joy. You know what I mean? All right, so, hear me. Families. What I do? I just go call this video. You know what I mean? The last one for today. You know what I mean? Yeah, whatever Babylon called today, you know? Yeah, so, yeah, man, for real, man. All right, love for that still, you know? Yeah. All right, family. So this one now is like, well, I call it today video for the end of the show today, you know what I mean? All right, so if anything, yo, sis, Moonstar, you know, say are the highest and the brightest love, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, for real, man. I hope say you can pop on the live and burn some fire to come. You know, hey, says, I know, say you got the fire inside. Yeah, I know you got the fire inside, man. Yeah, but you see, sometimes we can't bother with the system teaching and thing. We like to go to the next level, but the families them in the earth now, or down in the earth, is like them far from the reality, innit? Yeah, them they're far from the reality. So we have to kind of say, yo, family, hear me? We are one family, you know. We is not a body, we is not the vessel, we is the light inside. You know what I mean? So at the moment we have to hit them with the truth, and when we hit them with the truth, you know, then we come to them sense, you know what I mean? Because only thing when them now work with life, them just are going at the coffin, innit? Them are going at the box. But before them going at the box, we are trying to reach out to them, you know? Before them going at them coffin, innit? We just are trying to reach out and say, yo, hear me. If you use your brain, it's like we can live longer. If you use your brain, we all can travel the world. If you use your brain, we can farm up the earth. If you use your brain, the kids them don't have to be bad today. If you use your brain, we can do anything we want once it's righteousness. So these are the videos that my job too, same way, you know what I mean? And sis, like what I say, the highest and the brightest love, same way it goes out to you, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, for real, man. I feel it. I feel it. Yeah. You know what I song there? I feel it. Hot. Yeah, man. Love. All right, family, have an upliftment afternoon. You know what I mean? I love it so much. You see? Yeah, man. And you see, sis, you put a joy for me too. You know what I mean? All right. So that's how we have to dear for each other and uplift each other. You know what I mean? All right. Love, family. Have an upliftment afternoon.
I am no longer employed by this company. I chose to leave because I could no longer in good conscience work for a corrupt company that is involved in a highly illegal federal program that is blatantly violating the constitutional rights of American citizens on a daily basis.
The military, you know, they pioneered the internet, DARPA, and now they are pioneering our interface to our brain.
For that, we really need to measure every neuron and at appropriate speeds and long periods of time. And that's what the BRAIN Initiative is about.
They asked us to go and measure the activity in a living brain and map exhaustively the wiring diagram of every neuron connecting to every other neuron.
And we're, as part of the BRAIN Initiative, thinking about the Rosetta Brain, where we're not picking one particular winning technology. We're trying to stimulate new innovative technologies and to integrate them all into one brain and do that over and over again in different brains, in different pathological settings in humans.
And then from there, IARPA wants us to deliver the brain up to the cloud. So this is a 40 gigabit per second brocade switch to the Internet 2 infrastructure. So this is like the fast internet. And we upload that brain to the cloud. And here's a laundry list of the types of bytes that we need to store this information. If you're interested in brain uploading and downloading, these are the kind of absolute minimum numbers that you need to be considering, but it's not out of range. It's not necessarily far off in the future.
And if you think the internet is big, if you think blockchain is big, this is going to blow it all away. Because there's nothing bigger than connecting our minds to the internet.
I find it interesting that that's what's going on. That's what they're admitting. They're saying, hey, this Microns project is going straight to the source. We're not taking it from the global internet perspective. We're taking it from the brain itself. And eventually, those two things will merge. So the public announcement of a project like this is pretty telling about where we are.
It's so funny because the military contacted me and asked if I would help them. And I'm reluctant to do that because I like talking about everything. And it would be top secret, whatever they told me. So it's like, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to know what you're doing because I only want to know it's public. So this is public. But how they're doing it is not public. And the different applications for it on the battlefield are not public.
It is with laws that protect whistleblowers in mind that I am choosing to make this information available to the public. By doing so, I hope to put pressure on those in power in this country to investigate those involved in this social engineering program and bring them to justice.
They are new technologies, and a lot of them are being developed by startups and the military that are going to allow us to much more accurately measure and actually communicate with your brain. Now, the nice thing about this technology is it's non-invasive, meaning they don't have to crack open your skull and put a chip inside.
The true way that this technology works is that a complete DNA profile is obtained from the target, from the individual, the targeted individual. And then this information, the DNA of the individual, is used to determine the resonant frequency of the DNA itself. The resonant frequency is then used to fine-tune the technology, the radio frequency signals, the microwave auditory effect, and all of the other aspects of the technology to tune it perfectly to the resonant frequency of the targeted individual's DNA. And they can read your thoughts verbatim as they occur within your own mind.
We can generate an electronic signal that's characteristic for the DNA. This can read DNA from solution, and your blood is a solution, it's a liquid. We can decode it into a form that can be read by a computer. And in a way, you can think about DNA as digital information moving through a tube. Now, if we can tap into that tube, like a network, and we...
Yo, family, what may I say? All them people that can read their mind and thing is like the same program where them teach you in a school. It's like, may I play about the video where it leave off still. But the only way them can read their mind, yeah? Because you see, when I'm watching something, it's like I connect with the universe and I ask the universe question and it reply back to me, you see? The only way they can read your mind is like, you say, oh, I'm going on the road, or oh, I'm getting a new clothes, or I'm going to buy a new car, I'm saving up to buy a new car, or I'm going to buy a house and all these things. But you text it, you know what I mean? Or you go on the internet and you view things. So it's like they study what you view, they study what you text, they study how you act, they know how your body movement look. You know what I mean? And they know what energy vibration you're pushing off. Like, oh, I am here now. It's like they can say, all right, they see I'm laughing. It's like they know, say, yeah, whatever I'm saying, I'm happy to say it, you know, but I'm just easy and just make nature take over. You know what I mean? So I'm talking from nature now. Always see I'm like, I'm not talking program, you know what I mean? Because I show you the program. And they say, oh, they can read your mind and all of these things. You understand, my family? That is all lie. You see, because we are nature, you know what I mean? But we have to listen to ourselves inside, you know? So when the man say, oh, yeah, they can read your mind, they have technology can go in your brain and thing. Not say, oh, they can hack your brain, you know what I mean? Like they can send radio wave to you, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, when you watch a movie and they have a laser gun, in the physical, we can't see the laser light, but in the movie or the cartoon, we can see laser light in it. So they have the radio wave now where send information. You know, like how them have the television and they send signal to the television. So you're watching the TV, is a signal going to the TV. So it pick up that that radio, that signal what they are sending. You see, like, oh, they have Cartoon Network, they have Action Network, they have News Channel. It's like, it's a radio wave they are sending, you know what I mean? So they can send that radio wave to us, you know what I mean? And sending it, they can just go like this, like, so you can't see the breath, but it's just like it going everywhere, you know what I mean? They have one antenna here, one antenna there, and in between the antenna, they pick up the signal, like one antenna, next antenna, the antenna vibration is coming in between my hand. So it's like wherever you are, you can pick up the channel. But today it's like antenna and satellite is everywhere. So it's like I can pick up something in Jamaica, I can pick up something in Africa, America, etc. Because them have antenna all over the place. You know what I mean? What they call them satellite. And with this satellite now, they can send that wave to us. You know what I mean? So we think, say, oh, I'm hungry. Oh yeah, I need a new shoes. Oh, I need a new this, I need a new that, but is there them sending vibration? Because only thing we're supposed to need our freedom. We want to farm up our food, we want shelter, and we want to see the kids them grow up good. You know what I mean? And that is what we come into the earth for. That's why we are the protector. By buying a car, buying a house, buying all these things. No, this is demonized. You know what I mean, family? And being demonized, we have to know these things, you know what I mean? Because I just go out the door, I was listening to the video, and when I hear the video, all of this knowledge come to me. This is not system. This is like against the system. You know what I mean? It's against the video what I am playing. You know what I mean? Because if you watch the video, you're gonna think, say, oh yes, they come in with technology to come in our brain and think. No. The universe, the oxygen in your body is stronger than whatever they are doing. You see, if they override the oxygen, what's going in your body, it's like you dead. You understand, my family? You're dead. You know what I mean? There's no power can take over the oxygen in your body. They can put program in front of you. You know what I mean? But they can't take over the oxygen going to your body because the oxygen is knowledge. I go outside, I come back with this knowledge. So we have to know these things. And we have to gather the family them who is lost out there, you know? All right, family, me not really waste no time and think. So if I hear something or the universe say, boy, you know, one world say this, I'm going to say it. That is how I stay. That's why I have the video deep down inside. Talk from deep down inside. I used to like keep things deep down inside when I was younger, but today I'm older. I see it's like it's the only way to go forward is to talk things deep down. You understand me? Because when you connect with the universe, is your spirit. So you have to, and next after you gradually can be free, talk free. When someone tell you something, you see the program, you see what they are saying. So you know if a reality or you know if it's the system. You understand me, family? I love you so much. Have an upliftment day. And if I have to say something, I stop the video and say, you know what I mean? All right, love family, yeah?
We can read that information, we can intercept what's happening in people, you can make them an extension of the internet. And, you know, I have a thermostat at home.
First family, this man and this is a demon, yeah? He's a demon. He's been controlled, yeah?
That's on my iPad, I can warm the house up before I get home. People call that the Internet of Things. We call this the Internet of Living Things.
Much like any information, biometric information, digital information can be susceptible. We know that genetic information and DNA sequencing information is highly sought after by adversaries.
The memo says the kits could expose personal and genetic information and potentially create unintended security consequences and increased risk. It also says the data in the wrong hands could be used to conduct mass surveillance or to track individuals.
There are many military applications for maintaining and using DNA data sets. There are new technologies that are coming out.
Technology called biocoded directed energy. And that's a top secret thing that was developed. And what it is they get your DNA. Once they have your DNA, they take the DNA and they put your DNA code in a supercomputer. And in that supercomputer, they run algorithms that biocode electromagnetic transmissions so they bioresonate with your body. Once they've done that, they can transmit that from satellites or cell towers or aircraft or any number of ways, and that signal will only affect you and nobody else. In other words, everybody standing next to you is not going to hear the content because their receiver is not tuned to that bioresonance.
Yes, sis. Yeah, boy. And I really say, boy, then can't go in at the dream, man, because remember, say, at the radio wave, you know, that's why when I'm going to sleep, I turn off my internet and thing, because you see, family having nightmare and thing, and having nightmare is like, we shouldn't have a nightmare. We should have like journey, dream, you know, like we go back to the spiritual world next when we awaken again in the next day. We know what we supposed to do. But you see, the internet now, remember the internet is like, it's not just internet. It's like, what would I say the internet is like now? It's like, it's a projector The internet is like a projector, and being like a projector now, although we can't see it, we know say it's a wave in it. Internet is a wave, but it's a projector. It's like when you don't have when you turn off the internet on your phone, yeah, it's like the projector, it can't go there. But we don't know how to turn off the internet, like the connection of the earth, you know, or the wave of the earth, or the voltage, because you know, like the higher the voltage, the higher we have to turn off and block ourselves from these things. You know what I mean, sis? So it's like that they do with the internet. So with the internet, they can hack our dream in a way where we have nightmare, or they can block our dream, like trap us in the body. And trapping us in the body is like we can't get free come out and explore the universe, you know. So a lot of family don't get no dream and all of them thing there. And they have the water doing that too. They have the programs them, like if we watch TV, the books them same way, you know what I mean? All of the artificial food, the sweets and the artificial sugar, and all of these things help to block us from exploring in the world, in the body, you know. So you have to watch out for these people, you know what I mean? Just have an open mind, and always, like what you teach me, put up your pyramid, you know, use the pyramid as the blockage so they can't go into our dream, you know. Even if we go sleep and rise up back, but if we not forget a dream tonight, we now get no dream, you know. But in an idea, we have to put up a pyramid, you know. Yeah, man, for real, man. So, you know what them say? When you sleep, you have to have one eye open. These are the people, you know what I mean? You have to watch like that, you know. Yeah, man, for real. This how you talk about, man. I want team, one dream, you know. You guide me, me guide you. We guide each other, you know. Yeah, man, for real, man. All right, love, sis. Man, blaze the video still, yeah?
There's a bioresonance to every individual, just like our fingerprint. Every person has an individual DNA, a different bioresonance. And so the original Stockland patent is on my website, where Stockland was able to go voice to skull with pulse transmissions in 92. And then after the rest of the development went black ops. We don't really know what happened after that. We knew we could put voices in group people's heads. What they did, and I know from the Russian translation from Cheryl Welch, from reading all her translated psychotronic stuff from Russia, that they figured out how to biocode these microwaves so that it can attack specific individuals.
They basically analyze your DNA, and they then use supercomputers to encode the signals. And you basically convert DNA information into ionic information into computer information. So that's going from DNA to ions, but for the brain, we're interested in the opposite, going from ions to DNA. We have the ion channels that are going through the spiking, or in some cases, the non-spiking behavior. It's influencing the fidelity of the DNA polymerase so that the time series of the calcium, say, turns into a spatial series of changes in the DNA sequence, which you can then read out or compute on. And not just for the RNAs and other molecular identifiers, but what the brain was thinking during activity.
All of us speak to ourselves in our head. That's how it's strange that we have to communicate to ourselves by speaking, right? But we will just sit there talking to ourselves. So as we are talking, there's a certain pattern for every word we say. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. If you think of those words...
And you see, family, what you must say is like, you see, so them can read our mind, and read our mind is like the computer now, yeah, what they are making, or the internet, what they are making, yeah. It's like they have yes, no. If we say yes, our mind react. If we happy, our mind react. And if we we talking certain words, you know, it's like them know, so them can't read our mind, you know what I mean? It's the vibration what we send off, they try for catch, you know. So with me now, they can't really catch my vibration, you know what I mean? Because I connect with the universe. So I don't say things unless it should say, you know. It's like they can't stop the water in the earth. They can't stop the land in the earth. You know what I mean? They can't stop the sun in the earth. It's like they only can block the sun, maybe block the moon, maybe block the sky, but they can't stop these things of life. You know what I mean? So according to how this family showing you now, yeah, he's not showing you the part so you defeat it, you know. He must show you the part so you get weak to it. You know what I mean? Because this man is a damn demon. You know what I mean? He's a demon. He look like the man who make iPhone, innit? He like a proper demon, innit? Yeah. So he must show you, say, oh yeah. So if you think, it's like them are read your mind. You know what I mean? Like if you do anything, yeah, so he might try to imprison each other, you know what I mean? Like, oh, so I can't say nothing without you know. Like, why him not try to figure out who him is or why him here? You know what I mean? He might try to enslave family by not making us think for ourselves. You know what I mean? Because the whole entire universe is knowledge, you know what I mean? But it's when we use certain of the knowledge in the universe, at that time them know, say, all right, we is that flowers, or we is that water energy, etc. You know? Yeah, man, for real, man. But they can't read our mind. They can't read our mind, family. You know what I mean? Them proper dumb, they're stupid, they're foolish, and all of these things, you know what I mean? And that is what the universe say to repeat, you know what I mean? Them dumb, them stupid, they're foolish, you understand me? Yeah, don't follow the fool, family. Follow yourself and follow the wise.
And the beauty of this is most of the words in the dictionary we don't say. But a subset of these words, actually a small subset, we use all the time. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody without verbalizing any.
Yes, you see, what may I say now, sis? They can't read the mind, but you see, if family watch this video on their own and just watch it like that, it's like, you see, if you upon the system thinking now, you're gonna feel what he must say is right, you know what I mean? But this brother is a load of toilet, what's go into toilet, you know what I mean? Because number one, yeah, it's like them can't read our mind. Because see, they now the whole entire world I wake up and I go against them. You know what I mean? And they try everything to manipulate the people their mind, to calm back down the people them to sleep and all of these things. But no, the people them now fall into it. You know what I mean? Like these families are scum of the earth. You can't listen to the scum of the earth family. And next, after you listen to the scum of the earth, it's like you're gonna say, oh yes, it can happen. No, never. Look at this man. He come like a load of this from that man. Him have a disabled brain. You know what I mean? Him never think for himself. He might try to put fear in people.
You could literally start to communicate with other people. So my lecture, we could all be standing here silently. And I could just be communicating it to you. I could be talking, you would talk to.
You see what him say now? We can do that, but them take away that knowledge from us. So them are try to sell it to us now. You know what I mean? Like me, I got have a phone, yeah? And it's like I am communicating with you through the phone, yeah, and I'm not saying nothing. So yeah, feel my connection, but where this connection and where this feelings coming from? It's from the school and the internet program and the book program and all of these program. And after we're communicating like what him say. That's why they come like they know us. They don't know us. He never know him damn himself. Because you don't need a computer for you to connect with each other. It's just like when your mind run on someone and that someone call you. It's just like you don't know how to use it. You know what I mean? Yeah, like even yesterday, yeah, it's like my dad was about to call me. About 5 minutes before, I feel like he was about to call me, I should call him. I never use what he's saying. You understand me, family? This man is like a damn devil. He's a damn devil. Want to take away life from us. You know what I mean?
People, you could literally have conversations with people without ever getting on your phone anywhere in the world. You know, goodbye WeChat or Google Hangouts. We could all just be on our brainwaves, right? Communicating with our friends. They could be dropping in on us. Very strange if we think about it.
So that when that person goes to speak out about it, when they go to seek help from their fellow human beings, and their fellow human beings say, what is it that's happening to you? The target will then say, I'm hearing voices inside my head.
But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms.
And they will conclude that this person must be crazy. And as a result, they will recommend psychological evaluation for that person. You can see the way this is going to go and the way it is going right now.
And that's why they want to put the booster shot in families, you know what I mean? Because the booster shot is a part of it.
As good people, helpless people that are being abused and tortured and enslaved and experimented upon in America today, American citizens cry out for help from their fellow Americans, and their fellow Americans say, why don't you take some Prozac because we think you're schizophrenic. Well, this is a highly technical program. All of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description. This technology can also tap into the optical nerve of the target and the auditory system of the target, so that those monitoring the target can see what the target is seeing and hear what the target is hearing. This information is then downloaded and stored on a computer in a highly secure, classified site on servers that are guarded by some of the tightest security in the world.
So the ability to do this, the ability to download information, that is like what the military and other people are that's their holy grail.
There's a number of companies now that are looking at ways to write digital information into DNA, because you would only need about a room full of DNA to record all of the digital data that exists today, which is quite extraordinary.
So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. So let's say you don't want to, you want that memory forever, right? You're like, it's automatically probably being stored in the cloud for you without you thinking about it. Just like these automatic backups on your computer, everything, there's a copy and there's redundancy and there's like many versions.
Yeah, I say without you thinking about it. So that means, and you're thinking that. That's why you have to put your information up there. You know what I mean? It's stupid. It's stupid and dumb, innit? Yeah, but in proper brainwash. I don't know if my 33 are one degree of Freemason, but he's one of them.
And so your experience, you could access it later.
This results in the individual's entire day, everything they see, everything they hear, everything they experience, and everything they feel being recorded till the end of time.
Within the brain, there are tiny structures called microtubules, right? Would you think of these as straws? But they're straws through which flows light. And in fact, photons of light known as biophotons. And that each one of these is a package of information that flows around, these tiny structures in the brain. This light.
You see what he is trying to do now? He's trying to trap you in the body now, yeah? According to how he might teach in the brain. So he might talk in the body. You know what I mean, family? So this one now, I manipulate your mind. So it's like, yeah, think in the body, innit? You know, I think, say, boy, the oxygen can give you knowledge. You know what I mean? The universe can give you knowledge. So he's trying to trap you. Yeah, like these people, it's just like a first school knowledge they have. You know what I mean? Because they program. You know? All right, make we hear what you must say.
Light is carrying, of course, the memories. And we know DNA.
Yeah, but where the memory come from? You know what I mean? Yeah, where the memory come? It don't come from in the body, innit? It come from the universe. You know? Like when I am thinking about someone, like example now, I'm thinking about someone that someone called me. So what? At the connection in the universe, you know what I mean? The same life what's in my body and the same life what's in the earth, in the person, connect with the person. You know what I mean? Yeah, this brother, he might try to trap you in the body. Yeah. And the next one, I try to program you. So they said more than one way to try to trap you in the body. Yeah. Family, be free. You see the bird? Connect with the bird. You see the water? Connect with the water. Don't feel say you are the body. Or the things them what they are saying in the body. Yeah. Look at him. Come like him. Someone and teach him behind the screen what to say.
Is also producing these biophotons of light. This is well studied and is well understood. So the interface between the brain and the DNA would therefore be these biophotons.
Now this is where, if you can transfer knowledge and you can communicate, because your brain is wirelessly connected to the internet, there's no reason you couldn't extract memories, which are just data, out of one brain and put them in another brain. Now, what would it mean to share memories? All of a sudden, you know, Elon Musk, you want to know, like, what he's thinking? You could get his memories from yesterday.
All right, family, look now, yeah? For you to connect with the next soul, yeah? Just look on this one, yeah? At this part I was talking, where it never really sound clear, yeah? It's like, you notice the connection, the two connection of the two body, yeah? It's like, where it come from? It come from outside, not you. And not in the body. But it generate through the body and through the next body and I connect through the universe, yeah? And after I connect through the universe, we get the signal in it. So where the knowledge come from, same way. But we are not the body, because when we leave the body, it's not like, oh yeah, we gone in it. We are the energy same way. Bob Marley gone, yeah. So that means that in brain shut down, everything shut down for Bob Marley. But the universe still acknowledges its being in it, in the universe. Because you can be walking, yeah, and Bob Marley just come to your head and you sing a Bob Marley song, you sing a Michael Jackson song, you're singing yeah. So it's not like it's not like the things them in the body, like the heart make the body work, the brain make the body work, the hand, the blood, everything make the body work. But you generate the life of everything. You make the heart pump, you know what I mean? You make everything pump in the body, you know what I mean? But you are not like the body, you are the universe. You see? Yeah, so with these people, they might try to chop us in the body, innit? So when you look on yourself in the mirror, you say, no, that is me. But the things what they use and make the mirror is a part of you, because you are a reflection. So what the mirror make a reflection. All right, family. So that's how I finish up that video, you know?
Yesterday, and live his entire day.
Although the connectivity of the brain is where we are processing experiences, even utilizing recalled memories and writing new memories to the hard drive, that it's more like a RAM with a random access memory rather than being the hard drive. The DNA would be effectively our hard drive, where all the bulk of the information we're not using is being written to. So it could be that in the future that we'll find a way to download people into DNA and move them across into other bodies. So this is an astonishing step forward in these kind of science fiction type ideas.
When our brains are connected to the internet, our physical bodies become less important. Now, think about that. If our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, all of us connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes. So all of a sudden, like for a day, like, you know, a lot of us, because you're entrepreneurs, think it would be cool to go inside Elon Musk's head for a day. If our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, all of us connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes. So all of a sudden, like for a day, like, you know, a lot of us, because you're entrepreneurs, think it would be cool to go inside Elon Musk's head for a day and walk around. Well, Elon Musk may allow people to get that feed and literally live through what he sees.
Because of my responsibilities in surveillance as a otherwise normal security specialist, I was showed this technology at work. And it was through the perspective, of course, of the camera, and what I was told that it was obvious it was being used through the eyes of the targets. So I have seen it, and it is absolutely remarkable. It's just like a first-person, you know, video game or something where you see right through the eyes of the individual. And so there's two aspects to the technology. Number one, there is the actual, what is essentially receiving the signal from the individual themselves. And that signal, it goes on within the human mind. I'm not going to get into exactly how the entire human brain works, but basically those optical signals are interpreted by the brain, and then you perceive them as vision. You perceive them as pictures and so forth, but this is all electrical signals within the brain. And so the exact same thing, the data is taken in through the eyes, and then your brain renders it in a visual form that we know as sight. The exact same thing happens with the computer. The data is sent to the computer, then it is rendered in the form of a picture that people can look at. As far as I'm aware, it's real time. There may be a second or two delay, but it is as it is happening. They can actually see through the eyes of the target. It's done all remotely. And that is rendered, of course, in essentially real time on a computer screen. And then it is to the point where it's so accurate, you can actually see the individual pores on someone's face. See scars and nicks and so forth. And so you can understand how if you had several people, for example, that you were able to do this, you can see through their eyes in a room or on a street corner or within an office building, wherever it is. You can get total situational awareness simply by looking through their eyes, and you can see through basically it's like being 3 or 4 or 5 different people all at the same time.
The next thing that is really interesting is, you know, everybody's talking about augmented reality and VR right now. If you've taken any drugs like LSD, suddenly it becomes real, right? Our minds are actually doing AR or VR, right? Putting dragons in the room and creating like all this stuff. We're able to, the point is, we are able to do that with our brains as they exist right now. So there's no need for external hardware. Once we tap into the brain, our minds itself can actually create overlays of AR and VR. If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, we could literally see a screen pop up. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms that would give us everything AR would without any glasses.
It's a family, they want to take away from life, you know what I mean? Because all of these things, what they are trying is how we supposed to be connecting with life, yeah?
Without any contact lenses.
This technology can be used to beam images and even motion pictures into one's brain. Images and motion pictures that are so realistic that you think you're actually watching a movie or seeing something in reality. It's like a virtual reality 3D rendering that takes place within the target's mind.
But you can imagine us entering entirely living in the real world as we do now, and also living in this virtual
All right, family. So, if anything, about upliftment afternoon, you know what I mean, family, enough love for each and everyone. This Moonstar, you know, say enough love, same way, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, for real, man. So, yo, family, hear me? Viewers and thing, enough love, same way, yeah? So, have an upliftment afternoon, yeah? All right, love, 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 family.